A new name has entered the fray or has been in the media for the past couple of weeks, ever since the beginning of the Club World Cup. And it's with regards to Manchester United's midfield or midfielder hunt. It is no news that Manchester United are in need of a new midfielder, to fill up the space or the spot left by Christian Eriksen and to also bolster the squad, right? And today we've got a new name entering the fray, and it's not from the Premier League or not even from Europe as well. We're going all the way to South America, where United are eyeing a Colombian midfield dynamo. I mean, this is someone who turned heads and, shocked people with his performance at the Club World Cup. And his name is Richard Rios. I mean, the latest target in what is quickly becoming a smart, forward-thinking recruitment strategy under Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS. So let's talk about Richard Rios. So basically, Richard Rios is a Colombian international, 25 years of age, plays for Palmeiras, one of the biggest clubs in Brazil. And let me tell you, this guy just had a monster year, basically. He's already played 35 games in 2025 and across the Brazil's Serie A. He played also in the Copa He played also in the Copa Libertadores and the Club World Cup as well. I'm trying to get my words out, but it is what it is. So his fixture in that midfield, he's a fixture in that midfield for Palmeiras, and you don't also last long in this Palmeiras team unless you are a real deal. And he's quite, established, quite experienced. He's 25 years of age, as I said. He has scored 4 goals. He has had 4 assists, and more importantly, he's one of those midfielders who just glues everything together. He's quick in transition, neat in tight spaces, and fearless when he needs to shoot from a distance. I watched him for Colombia when I watched Colombia versus Uruguay in one of these tournaments they were playing last year when I was trying to watch Manalugate. Surprisingly, he didn't stick out to me basically at the time, but I saw that was a very good midfielder who was controlling everything in a very chaotic and aggressive game between Colombia and Uruguay. And that seems to be one of the games or the derbies when it comes to international teams clashing. But he's a very strong, technical and aggressive player, and he's got the kind of ball carrying ability United haven't had since. Dare I say it, is more like a younger version of Paul Pogba. I mean, here's why I say why this gets actually spicy, right? His performance came on the biggest stage, the Copa Libertadores and the Club World Cup, where he bossed the midfield battles against teams in Europe and in Mexico. Now, why would United want a player like Richard Rios, and why would United want to get this kind of player deep into the South American market? And what does he offer to Amorim? Now, here's why Ruben Amorim might be interested in Richard Rios. Well, think about United's midfield right now. Casemiro on his way out or winding down his career. Obviously, we have Kobbie Mainoo, is a gem but needs support. We also have Bruno Fernandes, already established, and all of that. Toby Collier as well, young player, 21, 22, going to be 22 soon, still building learning his craft. Manalugate as well, another player who is also kind of, learning about the Premier League. So adding one more energetic midfielder, 25 or so, the age bracket for Manchester United and all of that. With Eriksen gone, that leaves an open spot for midfield. And we all now, we have seen in last season how lightweight the midfield looked in too many games last season as well. So we can actually, draw a contrast to what we might need in a player like Richard Rios. He's very press resistant. He's got a low center of gravity, and he can also cover ground, and he won't cost a fortune. Now, that is very key because according to Palmeiras online, Manchester United are preparing a £26 million bid for this player. And guess what? That's exactly the price Palmeiras want. No haggling, no inflation, just value. Now, that's INEOS ball. That is pretty much the ball in their court, ladies and gentlemen, just for something that they need to think about: a smart scouting, decisive action, and sustainable investment. Richard Rios, he can actually give us basically good 5 to 6 years, and if we give him a 4-year or a 3-year contract with an option of a fourth one, it will be really good, and it will be really cost effective, and he can evolve and he can grow. I mean, we've seen Colombian players play in the Premier League and thrive and succeed. South America, is where United needs to dip, and I've seen most like big content creators say that United needs to dip into the South American market for emerging talent, and it's United's emerging talent pipeline now. Now let's zoom out a little, and it's not just about Rios. Now, let's not talk about just Rios alone. Manchester United have clearly been increasing their footprint in South America. Obviously, we got Alejandro Garnacho from Argentina. Obviously, he played for Atletico Madrid by the time we got him. Diogo Leon, which is the most recent one from Paraguay, just signed, and he won't. And he said he won't accept a loan. We also have Enzo Canabi from France, but loaned out immediately to Switzerland. Young player as well, build up, and now possibly Richard Rios from Colombia. But with regards to just the South American market alone, there's loads of players that Manchester United have been watching and all of that. It's a pattern, target young or undervalued talent, bring them in early, develop in-house, or loan them out smartly and create depth without paying over the odds. Compare this with the old United, where they pay 80 million for players like Harry Maguire, or 50 million for players like Fred, or paying almost 100 million, maybe let's say 100 million euros for Anthony and 73 million euros for Sancho, all of that. This is a club trying to build a structure, not just a brand, and not just to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on players without actually getting any good result for it or good value for those players, and then eventually selling them off for peanuts or for less. Now, how does Rios actually fit into this Amorim system? Let's talk about how he can tactically fit in this Amorim system, how he fits the bill. Ruben Amorim likes a fluid midfield three, often anchored by a deep controller, supported by an aggressive ball carriers. Hence why we got someone like we have Bruno Fernandes. We also have someone like Matheus Cunha and potentially Bryan Mbeumo be playing that midfield three or midfield four that can be very fluid and aggressive, and they're also good with ball carrying. And this is where Rios fits in. Basically, he's got the natural Brazilian composure, right, with the Colombian bite, right. He can play as a number 8. He can drop deep to dictate play, or surge forward with late runs into the box. And he's also played in the double pivots at Palmeiras, meaning that he understands positional discipline, and his tackling stats are pretty solid. I mean, imagine a midfield trio of Mainoo, Rios, and Bruno Fernandes, or you have Mainoo, Rios, or Rios, Ugarte, Rios being the ball carrier, and then Matheus Cunha, and any combination of Mainoo, Ahmad, even Mbeumo, and all of that. You can even have a midfield double of Rios and Bruno, and then you can have Matheus Cunha and Mbeumo. Any combination can work, and it will be more dynamic. Or even Rios supporting Mount and Ugarte. Either of those, right? With Cunha, or even Mbeumo, or even Ahmad in all that. Maybe like with Mount and Cunha, Ahmad and Cunha, Mbeumo and Cunha, Mount and Ahmad. All of those combinations, they start to look more dynamic, right? So, on the final note, just to end this, where does this all stand in all of this? Manchester United are expected to open talks very soon. Palmeiras are ready to sell. The price is fair, and United need midfield legs, especially with Andre Onana injured and the budget stretched across multiple positions, with the potential of needing to sign goalkeepers, or revamping the goalkeeping department, or anything. I think that United will need at least 1 or 2 players in the midfield, and this could be a deal that surprises everyone. Not flashy, not headline grabbing, but effective and long term. So let's watch this space. Basically, with Rios, it might just be walking out of at Old Trafford come August. You never know. But let's keep our eye out, and whatever happens or breaks, we will talk about it and break it down to you. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything when it relates to Manchester United. We're already hitting great milestones, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.